From South Bend to Evansville and everywhere in between, this is Get In, the show focused on the Hoosier State and the incredible stories happening here today. I'm Nate Spangle, founder of Get Indiana, and I will be your host for today's conversation.
Oh man, it's almost like when I tell people I think it's like 600 pounds, I was like, imagine somebody losing 600 pounds in 10 months. Like that would be insane.
On the show today, I'm joined by Cameron Balser, a proud product of Kokomo, Indiana. Cameron is the man who ran around the United States of America, self-supported. We'll get into what that means a little bit later. 11,170 miles, 426 marathons in 294 days. He averaged over 40 miles a day. He wrapped up earlier this month, and I am super pumped to have him on the show. Cam, welcome.
It's nice to be here.
Dude, I am so pumped. I first saw Cam, I think you were somewhere down maybe like Texas or Oklahoma, somewhere coming through there. Not Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, somewhere in that area. And I was following along, and someone tagged me in a comment, and I was like, holy smokes, this dude is crazy. Like, over the course of the last year, Cam has literally ran around the United States of, not across the United States of America, around the United States of America. And it's incredible, man. And I'm excited to sit down and riff on the why, the who, the how, all these fun things today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be able to share the story.
Man, and came out some pretty exciting news we're going to get to at the end. Something coming up that everyone's going to want to be a part of. So make sure you tune in for the end of the show where we talk about how you can come out and hang out and support what Cam and the team are doing. So let's take it back. Cam, this was the last 294 days. Like that was how long it took you to run around the United States. But let's go back a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago. Like tell me about who Cam was then. And what kind of like set the stage for what led you to go on this journey?
It's crazy to think how much can change in just a short period of time. I was just basically working at the Y in Grant County and still running. I was still running 20 to 25 miles a day back then. Like I still had that passion.
So you were just living in Grant County, working at the YMCA, running almost a marathon every day.
Almost a marathon every day, but because I was with MTC, so I was still running events whenever they came up. Like I was still doing 100, 200-mile races. So and working, I basically did anything at the Y. Mainly what I was doing is housekeeping and stuff like that, or anything they needed for physical fitness down there. So I was basically doing that and having, dreams in the back of my mind of, running around the country. So.
Hey, did you grow up in Grant County?
Yeah, I grew up, went to Swayze Elementary and then went to Oak Hill. So.
An Oak Hill guy.
Yeah, yes.
Oh my gosh, they have it's really in the weeds of Indiana. They have a heck of a wrestling program at Oak Hill, and the coach has been there for like hundreds, like not 100 years, but like basically 100 years. Okay, so you're working up at the YMCA in Grant County. You're doing a bunch of stuff. You're running 20, 25 miles a day. Like, what did running mean to you then?
It meant everything. I mean, through the times that were really difficult that I managed to get myself into, it was something that I could go into and just find, it was something, whatever you put into it is what you got out of it. And it was just such a good example in everything in my life. So it was always something nice to go back to.
Yeah. And set the scene. Running 20 to 25 miles a day that's no easy feat already. Like, were you going out and competing? Were you running races, marathons? Were you going for distance? Were you going for times? Give us the scene of what kind of runner you were.
Yeah. I mean, I was just, the thing is going back and knowing about my journey, there's something about just running. I love to run no matter what that entails. Like I love the freedom of how I feel. I feel like anything is possible. My imagination I'm creative. Like
headphones, no headphones?
It just depends. I mean, it's whatever it's whatever I'm feeling at that particular day.
Like I don't know the science behind it. I'm also a runner. Like I'm nowhere near 20 to 25 miles a day, but 3 to 5 to 7 a day, getting out and running. And especially when you're in a bad day, when you're in a bad mood, when life's not going the way you want, it's like, take an hour, take 30 minutes. You get out and run. And there's definitely some science. I'm not a science guy, but there has to be some science behind it, right? And you just come back so recharged, refreshed, and this mental clarity. And it happens somewhere along the run.
I get that almost right right when I take that first step. Like any morning, I'm like that. Even the next day, even when I was out there, I couldn't wait to get up to do it again. And there's just something like I tell everybody, there's magic in doing what you love to do. Like I don't see it as 20 miles. I see it as a time to be with myself and everything that is. So
Man, I love that. And it's like some people think like the best ideas come in the shower or when you're driving. It's like there are some pretty great ideas that come while you're running.
yeah.
And I want to talk about where did you get this idea to run around the country?
I'd say 2019 was kind of my first ultra that I did. And it was basically just something that I came up with. Like, I got a 10-mile loop. I'll do it in Kokomo. I set a date and went out there.
This is just you. This isn't like a real ultra.
No.
Not a real, but this is
Yeah.
like we're running, like I ran the full mile. Like
Yeah.
that was like my first ultra, right? You're just like, no, I'm just going to do 10 miles, 100 or 10 times.
Yeah, just 10 times. And I set it in like February. It was on my birthday. And it was really cold. I would think it was like -2 degrees the whole time I was out there. People were like, "Are you going to change that?" I was like, "No, I set this date. This is what I want to do." And it was kind of right out of when I was dealing with stuff with just personal things I was dealing with, and I just wanted to set something and know that I could go out there and accomplish it, because there's just things that are in you that you can do. It's just you're getting in the way.
And I feel like that almost like complacency is like sweeping across, especially in a world now where everything is so comparative, right? Like this is going to get deep on the first episode in the new studio. We're getting a little deep, but it's like you look on social media and everyone's like, they're so cool. They're so cool. Like, and as you grow up, it's like you stop having the goals and like things to accomplish and all these, just goals, right? It's like things you want to accomplish and move on to. And I think that's such a valid point. And you can end up in this like dark comparative place where it's like, oh, so-and-so's doing this and so-and-so's doing that. And it's like, what am I doing? I'm just sitting here doing XYZ thing. And it's like, oh, I want to go out and be better and create that first milestone, right? So you create this milestone of you're going to do 10 miles, 10 loops of it, 100 miles on your birthday. How old were you turning?
28, 27.
27, 28. And take me back to 28, 27, 28-year-old Cam. It's like, where were you at as a person?
Oh man, at that point when I was going into that ultra, I had learned so much about myself, because I went through an inpatient program on all that. Like I found more self-hate than I was finding self-love with myself. And it was because I wasn't truly being authentically me, I think. And that just brought a lot of, deep feelings that I didn't want to feel all the time. So at that point, I was definitely on the other end of that, because I learned a lot of things through group therapy. Like it was because I learned through other people's experience how I could probably manage to just find a sense of hope after that. So
yeah, and then how important then was this first milestone of, hey, we're gonna do this 100-mile ultra?
It was a magical thing, because it was like I had something in my head, and it was an idea that came from my imagination, and I just showed it a little bit of action every day, and to actually see it through, I knew then that whatever lay ahead of me, that's if it came to me, it was true to me, that I would be able to do it.
Okay, so fast forward. You go from your 10-mile loop 10 times. You're 27, 28 years old. When did the idea to do an even longer run come?
Just staying in the ultra community. Every month it seemed like people were doing crazier and crazier things, and it was like, man, I never get, like if I see someone do something crazy at the Olympics or anything that might be wild to see, like a record or something, I never get discouraged. I see, wow, that is possible. And I kept seeing that time and time again. And I knew people that I ran against some guy that ran across the country, Pete. He has the world record. It was like 42 days, 3,100 miles. So that's like 72 miles a day for 42 days. So I started seeing these people do these crazy things, and it was like, man, he not only ran across, but he ran really fast across. I just kept thinking like, wow. And I just kept thinking of crazier ideas. And
I think that's like such a great mindset to have. And you talk about like going from maybe not in such a great mental state to like going through, inpatient therapy and all these things to get to a place of hope. Mm-hmm. Like I love seeing these people doing crazy feats at the Olympics, or when I see you run around the country, because it's like, man, people are just cool.
Yeah.
Like people can do incredible things. And I always kind of put myself in this headspace where it's like, I mean, I never say like that couldn't be me.
Yeah.
It's always like if someone else can find a way to do it, it's like I can find a way to do it. Like you can find a way to do a podcast or run or do whatever the thing is. It's
Yeah.
like I hope that like your story and all these stories that we're going to uncover today like inspire this like optimism.
Yeah.
I had a guest on maybe like 2 or 3 months ago, and they said that this is the first time in recorded history where if you ask people in 2024, do you think the future is going to be better than the present? They'll say no. So the number one way to be contrarian in 2024 is to be optimistic. And I was like, that's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just love optimism and hoping that like the future is always going to be better and there's more and cool and all these crazy things you can do. And I love it. So
Yeah.
I totally resonate with where you're coming from. Well, I want to get into, the how. Like, where do you go and how do you start on this 11,000 mile journey that took almost 300 days? It's like, what kind of training goes into that?
I kind of just kept going and doing what I was already doing. And then there was since I was working at the Y and I was living in Kokomo, that's about a 31-mile like journey just to go into Marion. So I would do, a couple days a week. I would run there, go to work, and then run back.
Stop.
Yeah,
You were
so-
running 31 miles. Like, how
So it ended up
early
being
did you have
like-
to leave?
Really early.
Like
yeah.
if work starts at 8, you're out the door at like 4.
I mean, because you're thinking that's a 6-hour run. I mean, if you're not wanting to run it, like to me, it's all effort. Like I never
Stop.
Yeah.
You are running 6 miles. So like, give me an actual day. Like
Yeah.
this was the day
So,
you did
I mean,
it.
I would get up probably. Yeah, I would get up around. Let's see if it's taking 6 hours. Probably like I don't know 2 or 3. Go run. Work there for 8 hours. The good thing what I was doing, I could clean whenever I wanted to. So I just had to get that stuff done. So after I get off work, if it would take me 7 to 8 hours, once I would get off, I'd run back.
So you were running 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
31 miles from Kokomo to Marion.
Yeah.
And then 31 miles back.
Yeah.
What's the road?
Just basically, I mean, I could take 26 if I wanted to, all the way to 37. Yeah.
Oh my
Or I
God.
could take the country roads.
Oh my gosh, Cam,
Yeah.
that's right. So you're just stacking on miles.
Yeah.
Did you already have the vision? Did you know that you are, hey, the end goal is to do this crazy, insane run around the country? Or was it like, hey, I'm just like, I don't know what I'm training for, but I'm training for something?
I mean, when I had that idea, that I knew. I mean, it had to be like a 6 months to a year. I knew that hey, this is what I was going to be doing because actually during COVID, I had the crazy idea of just getting into doing something like this because they had like a Great American Challenge thing. So it was like a team thing. So you basically had to run these. You entered it. What do they call it? When it's not a physical race.
Oh, virtual?
Virtual race. So we basically you had a team and whatever you had to get to 3,100 miles and whatever we did, but I was putting in like 30, 40 miles a day. And that's kind of when I knew I was like, wow, my body can actually handle this, which is kind of crazy. And that's when like that really ignited. I was like, hey, I really want to make this like a reality.
Okay. We're going to dive right into this of the how it happened. I want to talk to you about like your body can handle that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people get discouraged with running because they go on their first run 2-3 miles or whatever. And it's like it hurts and it sucks and it's not fun and you're gasping and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm never running again. Mm-hmm. What would you say to the person? Like you ran at a time, you were running 30, 40 miles a day. I mean, when you ran around the country, it was just a smidge over 40 miles a day.
Yeah.
What do you say to the person that's wanting to get into running, but it's just like not going as well as they would hope it would be?
Yeah, it's because you're trying to force something there. Like you're trying to force your training. You're not having fun with it, or you're going. A lot of times, you're just going hard, too quick. Like I say, like the way I was able to manage the 40 miles a day is because like I listened to my body. There's so many times our body is telling us it's such an intelligent thing. Like if we just listen to it and take it easy, find a way to make it fun. Like
I think that is like the first thing is people go out and run like they try to run the gym class mile, right? And they're like, I have to run an 8-minute mile. It's like run a 12-minute mile, run a 10-minute mile, like do whatever. But it's like you should be able to talk and have fun. And like if you enjoy the run, you'll keep coming back to it.
Yeah.
Like now I enjoy the run. But at first, when you're like huffing and puffing and it's terrible, you're like, no way, Jose, I'm not doing this. Okay, so training. Tell me about the first time you told another human being, I'm going to run around the United States of America?
Yeah, I mean, I remember doing something that we did for my one of my sponsors, MTC. We did something for his mom, like a fundraiser, 50 miler kind of thing. I think it was to Cicero, but to Marion, Indiana. And basically, I remember after we were doing that, we were sitting on the couch, and I was basically just like, man, I had this idea of it. It was kind of with the going around, but it was like I was really talking about going across. But then at the end of it, I was like, man, I think I could really go around the country. So yeah,
You said it out loud. So who was the first person that heard it?
all my sponsors, like all of my buddies that are on my team, like TJ, Trent, his brothers, John, basically everyone involved in that.
And then what'd they say?
What was crazy is like they knew how much passion I had for just running, and it was so cool to have like, yeah, you have that crazy. That's you're gonna get that regardless if you're like, hey, because I said I'm gonna average 40 miles a day to go around. Like I had that in my mind that that's what I was gonna do. So it was crazy, to be like, hey, you're gonna be running more than a marathon a day. For 200, 300
Those are
days.
good friends because at first it's like they're crazy, and a lot of times people say you're crazy, and they try to like kind of like put you down a little bit. But it's like when you have the right friends who are like you're crazy, and they start to think on it, it's like, man, maybe you really could do that.
Yeah.
Like those are the kind of people you want to spend time with. Well, take us to like day one. Like you toe the line in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And what's going through your head?
Oh man, I was extremely nervous, and I had for some reason intuitively pushed it back a week. I don't know why, but that kind of the first day I was like, man, should I push it back that week? Because in October, I'm thinking the Northeast, that's the cold's gonna come. Like the cold is coming. Like I got to outrun freezing temperatures, which was crazy. And it was crazy because when I got dropped off, it was just like my mom had dropped me off. It was just me and her. It was actually
like I think people build it up in their head. It's like, oh, this is this grand start line.
No.
No, this is just a dude getting dropped off by his mom in Cleveland with a little like car, like a little like carrier thing.
Yeah, and the thing is, I didn't have a website or anything. Like nothing. It was just a organic. Like a seed was planted that day. Like nothing. I dropped all my stuff, like got rid of all my stuff to do this.
You sold everything.
Yeah, I mean my car and everything. I was like, I knew for some reason when I was gonna jump, I was gonna jump. Like this was it. Like, and I wasn't gonna look back. That's all I knew. Like that day.
What did your mom say in the car as you're getting ready to like just start running?
She was extremely nervous because she viewed the world as we see it, like how we get our news. It seems like it's a crazy, hectic world out there, and I could see why she felt that scared. But what I loved about this journey is I was able to show how I viewed the world, and that is unconditional love. And I got to see that time and time again.
Take me to the first example of that.
I'd say probably the first place I ate. I mean, like I said, I didn't have anything saying like, "Hey, I'm going to do this." So if you have some guys saying like, "Hey, I think it was like a couple 100 miles in, and I stopped at a restaurant, but it was like the first restaurant they gave me something just like basically like an appetizer for free." I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. And it's someone just saying like, I'm so glad you're doing something you're dreaming of. Like I got that constantly. It's like, there's a big thing on following your dreams. Like it really resonates with a lot of people. So,
and a lot of it's like living almost vicariously, where it's like, oh man, I wish I could do that. And it's like, you can't.
Yeah.
You can go do that. So, couple hundred miles in, you stop at you stop at a restaurant.
Yeah, stop at one of the first restaurants that I was able to get something for. Yeah,
I think everyone, especially the non-running community that listens to this, like needs to like conceptualize what a day running around the country looks like. So, let's say like, you're 6 days in. What is like? When do you where do you sleep? What do you wake up? What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started out, basically, we picked a couple campsites that I would be able.
So there's multiple people, or
my team, they helped me back at home. Like I was like, hey, this is what I'm running. What campsites are available? So they're
like running ops. Like
yeah, they're basically my eyes in the sky. Like Google,
God.
They're on Google because it's like I didn't know what was going on, and I had the few first like places where I could possibly stay and have a campsite because I kind of wanted to get my bearings. But when I really got first couple of days, and then I was able to do like stealth camping, and that's basically like you find somewhere you can put a tent. It might not be where you're supposed to put a tent, but there's a lot of places you can
Stealth-
like
is stealth
a
camping-
cemetery, a church, like a lot of cemeteries, a lot of fields. If they were open, I would
Were you
just go out there.
scared?
In the beginning, I was just scared to get woken up because I just knew how important the sleep was that I was getting. Like I couldn't like
How
that.
long are you sleeping for?
Actually, I let my body sleep. Like when like a typical day, I would wake up whenever I would feel like I could get, like, it was usually 7 to 8 hours. I got more sleep than I was like prior. So it was
Okay.
kind of crazy. But I would get up, try to, just get myself ready. I did like a kind of like a gratitude kind of thing because I knew what I was doing was something I dreamed about doing. So many different things, prior to that. So I was like, wow, this is so crazy to be out here doing what I dream of. But then I would start breakfast, eat breakfast, break down tent.
Okay, what's breakfast look like?
It could be, anything. It could be something that I found the day before at a gas station, or it could be dehydrated food. I did a lot of dehydrated food, which is like hiking food. But it could be like a Subway that I bought, and had a 6-inch of that
So
prior.
you stored in a nice refrigerator overnight that was ready to go, right?
Yeah.
Dude,
No,
you're
I just,
crazy.
yeah. I turned into like a literal like wild man. Like I felt like I was more a part of nature than I was a part of society. Like by the end of it, just because I just got so used to being, outside. Like, yeah, it was crazy.
Dude, okay. So and then breakfast ends and you.
Then I get going, like, and I could run from anywhere from 15 to 30 miles without, if I had a decent breakfast. It's crazy how efficient my body became, like without having to eat. Like
30 miles without eating.
sometimes, yeah, I would go that far without.
Holy
yeah, it was.
smokes,
If I got a
dude.
good breakfast, it was insane. Like how efficient
If
your
you,
body.
if you had a foot long sub in there,
Yeah.
right? He's good to go for 30. Okay, so you're running and you eat the breakfast and you're off and you're running. I think what people like don't know is like this is self-supported.
Yeah.
So it's like he's got a little like waist strap and a little cart, like he's pulling behind
Yeah.
him the whole way.
Yeah.
Like how heavy is that thing? And what added element of difficulty did that add?
So much, because in the beginning, that's what was difficult, is like trying to manage, like, because I didn't know anything about bearings, and that was one thing that what happened with the cart was the bearings, and then like, yeah, the cart was just a lot of technical things that I should have been ready for, but I got ready when I was out there.
Tell me about the first like big challenge you hit with the cart.
I think New Hampshire was the first, because we had the first edition, which was our first model of the Kid Runner, and I had just too much weight. Like my mom's like, you need to pack all this stuff. I was like, I'll carry it until I get to the Atlantic Ocean, and whatever I don't want, I'm shipping back. Just because I was like, I get it. Like, but the forks broke. Like, and it's like, it was raining in New Hampshire, pouring down rain, the forks break, and that's like, the cart wasn't movable, like at that point. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do? Because I'm like, I'm a ways away from home. And I was able to duct tape it, like, come out with some, because I've had cars, I know how to, I know how to get to B if I have to get to B. So I was able to manage that. And then after that, the bearings were an issue for a while. I didn't have the right bearings, which tore into I think I went through 20 bearings in like 2 months, just because I wasn't getting the right bearings, and it was just, I was burning through them.
So what goes in your cart? You ran around the country. What were like the essentials that you had to have?
I learned that real quick. It was definitely my tent, sleeping bag, a pad, a sleeping pad to be able to sleep on, a little cooker, dehydrated food, duct tape was a huge thing. You never knew when you needed duct tape. Trash bag to put over my car. Water filter. I filtered my water quite a bit in the Northeast and even in the Northwest. Like, if I could find any way to filter my water, I would do that, just because, a gallon of water is like, I think 8 pounds. So any added weight into that cart, I pushed it over the limit. I'm trying to think what else. Extra clothes. What is the wardrobe
of a guy running self-supported around the country look
I
like?
wore the same clothes for far longer than I ever anticipated wearing clothes. I think I went like a month without showering once. Like, I mean, I would dip into some like creeks. Like, I
Oh,
would be
yeah.
in like your local pond, like in Indy, and you'd be like, "Why is that guy in there?" I'm
Why
like,
is this homeless man taking a bath
like
in our
extremely fit homeless man? That's what they
this
call me.
extremely fit, yeah, this jacked homeless dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so where around this journey did you find these like stories of hope? Like tell me some more of stories of just like I know there's this particular story around Thanksgiving. So you would have been in for maybe a month or two
Yeah.
at that point, and you're in Virginia.
Yeah.
And tell me about what happened there.
Yeah, my mom had like posted something like in that city and was like, "Hey, my son's coming through. If there's anybody available for anything that
Like in the
night."
Facebook group?
Yeah.
No
So,
way. My son is running around the country. He's gonna be here at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and so actually, one person reached out and was like, "Yeah, we possibly could have you out and or have you come over and have dinner." And then like so many other people reached out. Like when I was trying to meet up with that family, there was people coming out and giving me food, which I was at the point where it's like I wouldn't like deny food because food became like such a important thing. Like food was energy. Yeah, I had a family. I had somebody, two sisters come out and give me some food, and then yeah, later on the couple picked me up, and I was able to have Thanksgiving dinner with them and their family, and I stayed down in the basement, and yeah,
No way.
it was such a
Who's
beautiful.
the family?
I can't think of their name right away. It starts with an O. I know that.
Okay.
Because I try to think about everybody, but I met so many people. It's like it's crazy. I think I met 20,000 some people. Like especially at the end of it, I would just get people would stop and say hello.
Dude,
Yeah, I
that's
think it was
awesome.
Leslie something. Leslie, I can. Yeah, it's crazy how I
Yeah.
can.
No, I mean, I can't imagine, especially because of the momentum that happened at the end there,
Yeah.
right? Hey, y'all, here's your reminder that Get In is brought to you by Sweetwater up in Fort Wayne. They're our partners on everything audio, video, lighting, the whole 9 yards. They do great work. Make sure you check out sweetwater.com. And so as we go around, talk to me about like the most memorable stop along the way.
I'd say out in the coast of Oregon. Like there was just so many places out in Oregon and Northwest that was just absolutely just breathtaking to be able to stop. It's hard to choose a moment. I say it's like a puzzle. You need all those pieces to make
I love that
yeah.
answer. Okay, talk to me. No, I mean, you're making it seem like this was all fun and happy and like, oh, it was I just ran for 294 days. And
Yeah.
like, talk to me about when it was hard. Like
Yeah.
a couple of moments where it was like, holy, like where you wanted to quit.
Yeah, I mean, like when I was saying when the fork broke on the thing, I ended up having to push that thing for 250 miles broken. And that's right when I got into Vermont. So
You pushed it?
yeah, I was like, yeah, taped everything because I would be going up and down the mountains and be like, I'd be going down. I'm like, this is taped and bungeed. I was like, if I just let go of this, like that's all my stuff just going down literally a mountain. Like these are mountains out in Virginia. That was a tough time. Just to be able to like, okay, like we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And we end up figuring it out. We end up getting a new kid cart shipped and everything. There was another moment I was in South Carolina and I used basically a GPS thing for cycling because I had two wheels. So I was dragging the cart. So that seemed to be an easier way than walking. Because walking, it would take me on trails. So I was like, I can't take a cart on the trail. Because it's like, if you look at a trail, it's just like footprints like that. It's not too, like, it was crazy what I got myself into trying to walk on the Google Walk map. But yeah, I went out and it took me on like these dirt roads and it ended up raining like almost 2 weeks before that. And it was just completely mud. I mean, mud up to my shins. I was trying to pull that cart and I was like, I ended up calling my mom. I was like, I don't know what to do. But I was able to take a deep breath, able to pull it pull like it was like a sled and get it out. And it got a half mile and then there ended up being a road to get back on the main road. And yeah, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is tough. What do I do?
In those moments of crisis, like people deal with this every day in their life. Like you're out there, it's just you. Like what advice do you have for dealing in moments of crisis?
Every problem that we create, there's a solution. It's just like you just had to take a deep breath. Like everything we've been through, we've gotten through.
Was there a moment did you like want to quit?
No.
There was never a moment where you're like, I quit, I'm done, I can't do this.
No, because it's like maybe I didn't know the dream I had that I was doing and throughout my whole life, but there was something there always. And there were so many moments I was doing like you had to do things you don't want to find out what you do want. Like, and there were so many moments I did things I didn't want to do, and I knew what I was doing was exactly what I wanted to do. Like, it was just I just took that as so much gratitude, and just being there was just so special to me. Like,
Dude, I love it. Talk to me about the people along the road. Are there any like people that really stick out of like this person? I don't know how they did it, but they made a lasting impact on you and your life.
it was every person that I ran into, because it was, I view everything as energy, because like it would just be like someone just give me like maybe their leftovers. Like people would like see me like giving me their leftovers.
Like, oh, you poor fit homeless man.
Yeah. Or like people be honking, give me a fist bump. Like that brings like, you get hyped when people do that. So it was all about like, yeah. And it was just time and time again. Then when people are actually just like, I'd say out of the 290 some days, at least 100 of those days I stayed with people. So like
Just random people?
random people. And sometimes I would meet people through people. Like it was just like,
Like, oh, I got a brother 20 miles
Yeah.
north of here. Like, he'll take you
or
in tomorrow
across the
night.
country, like, or people would be like, I would see them at vacation. They're like, oh, I live in LA. Like, I'll see you there. Like, I met some guy in the Everglades, Chuck, and then he was like, yeah, I'm over here by Palo Alto, California. When you get here, let me know. And I stayed with him for 3 nights. And it was cool because he was like a 75-year-old ultra guy too. So
No
he just gotten
way.
into ultras like in his 50s. And I met him there in the Everglades. Like, it was crazy because he was like, everybody thought I was weird there because there's nobody out there in the Everglades. Like I ran through and stayed in the Everglades. Like,
Well, because didn't you run down to the Keys,
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
furthest point out, and
yeah.
then you just turn around and come back? Oh,
Yeah.
man. And when you were picking out that route, how tough was that?
I just learned real quick the first month that it was gonna have to be live in the moment. Like I was gonna have to, if once I got to Texas or anything that was like, hey, it's gonna be more than 2 or 3 days before I get food and water. Like that's when I had to make sure, like, hey, I need to know before I leave, because like I won't make it. I just won't. It's crazy because I wouldn't have enough things. So
Yeah. And like, who was helping you with the preparation? Was it your track club?
yeah, I mean, they helped whenever I needed anything, like shoes, apparel, or anything, or maybe we would pick up a hotel just because I needed stuff shipped there, or maybe I was just like I ran myself, I
Yeah.
just needed a shower. Yeah, they would help. They were there to help. Athletic Annex as well down here in Indy, they were helping me with gear and stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And what was cool about this was like individuals. I mean, it was like a grass funded kind of thing, and it really shows like we don't have to wait for something to happen; we can create it.
Man, dude, this is incredible. I'm just jazzed. I want to get some miles in right now. Here's the interesting thing about a journey, right? A journey of 294 days, right? 11,170. Is that the number?
160, I think. 11,160.
yeah.
I think that was
One
on
of
the
the-
thing.
yeah.
Well, one of those.
11
yeah,
11,000 and some change miles. Like, I think a lot of people set out to go do something crazy to become famous, right? It's like, I'm going to do whatever. And the whole mission is to get more followers. And like with the followers, you mean that helps like fund more campaigns to like help make a difference in all these crazy things. For you, from my experience in following you, I think I found you when you were 3,000 or 4,000 followers. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, this guy he's pretty crazy. He's my kind of guy.
Yeah.
And then something changed. And by the end of it, you were ripping, like
Yeah.
exponential growth of like people hearing your story and being inspired and the positivity you were spreading. Tell me about that and where the inflection point from like the social media piece happened.
Oh, definitely. Well, because I was just posting videos like how I don't know. I'm like different than a lot of other people.
You're authentic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You're
yeah,
authentic
yeah.
to like, hey, I'm this like
Yeah.
fun loving, like,
Yeah.
just guy.
Yeah, and I actually had a lot of help through John. He's the one that's done the film as well. That,
We're gonna get into
yeah,
that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was just able to help, because I'll go off a riff and I'll be talking, I could talk for 40 minutes or something like that about some holistic or esoteric kind of thing. Yeah, I would say it was probably about, I don't know, I can't remember where.
I feel like it was somewhere around like Pacific Northwest Montana.
Yeah, I think
where like it was a similar message, but the delivery style just changed a little bit, and all of a sudden, like,
Yeah, no, it was
Gangbusters.
crazy every day. Like I would get on there and as you probably run into, I was trying to answer all the questions I was getting, and then I was realizing I was answering questions that prior day, and then 50 more people, and I was like, I can't do that. Like, I couldn't answer all the questions, and it was just like every day it kept getting crazier and crazier.
Who was like the coolest person? Like, did you like see any blue check marks that reached out that were like,
Cameron,
yeah,
I didn't. He didn't say anything, but Cameron Haynes liked one of the
no
things. So
way?
yeah, so it was,
Cam Haynes, if you see this clip, dude, come to Indiana and get some housing with the boys. I love his book. He's
Yeah.
dope. That's sick.
yeah, and I've had a few other people when I did the race out in TSP. Like, I was able to meet a lot of people that were running influencers, so they reached out to me because I didn't realize how crazy what I had done, because I was literally doing something that I dreamed of. Like, and I always took that in every moment. Like,
Where did that dream? This is gonna go back a little bit to the beginning, but I'm just so curious. You keep talking about this like recurring. Like, I dreamed of this. I dreamed. Like, I mean, I'll wake up in the morning and I'm like, I have no idea what I freaking dreamed of. It's like in one ear out the other. Like, tell me about this. Like this consistent theme of dreaming.
yeah, it's just, I mean, and it's not even a particular just running around the United States. It's having that, doing what I love to do. It's the dream is the process of the journey. Like, it was going out there day by day, meeting people, doing what I love to do, finding inspiration through all things that when I was out there and sharing that inspiration with everybody else. And that so happened to, take me all the way around the country. And I want to continue to go other places and continue to do this, because it was.
Oh, are we calling a shot? Are we willing something into existence? What's next?
I have a few things, but I do have to.
I might have seen a post on social media with some insane goals on there.
I have a few things, but we have a few things we want to get out first.
Yeah,
and then, I mean, we're here to dream. You're always gonna, because people are like, are you ever gonna have enough or be, happy with where you are? I'm like, no, I'll continue to want to create because this is something I love to do.
Well, okay. I had this in there to talk about. Like that finish line feeling, right? Where it's like you accomplished the thing you set out to do. How did that affect you? Like mentally? Like I feel like emotionally, like I didn't, this is not even close at all. And I'm not comparing it to anything, but it's like I did an Ironman, right? Finish a full Ironman. And it's like a big life milestone. And they ask me like, oh, are you going to get the tattoo or whatever? And I'm like, well, no, I hope this isn't the coolest thing I ever do in my life.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like you do this insane feat that no one else in the world in recorded history has ever done. Right. He's the only person that's ever ran around the country self-supported. And like this insane feat. And you talk about like people ask you like, well, will you ever have enough? Will you ever be satisfied? Like, talk to me about that emotional feeling and what's going on inside.
It wasn't ever about the finish. It was about what I was doing every day. Like, to be able to do what I love to do every day. Like, I was in a space of freedom and creativity that I kept imagining just better and better things, not just for myself, but everybody else.
Well, I mean, now you finished that. It's like, do you long to be back out there?
Oh yeah, I do. I mean, I think about
As
it.
he's sitting in traffic at Broad Ripple, like hanging out in Indy, like, oh man, I wish I could just be back on the road.
Yeah, I loved making those connections and people being able to see the world through, my experience. And I see just a connection and a beauty that's happening and awareness that people, they want different things. They want change and they want to do what they love to do. And they're out there willing to do it too.
What do you hope people feel when they hear your story?
I hope they feel that they're capable of doing anything. And the only reason why I wasn't doing it is because of me. We stop ourselves from doing what, and we have all these hints and our bodies are telling us, or, everything, is telling us when we're not doing what we truly want to do. Like when we're not authentically, truly ourselves, we can feel that every day. And I hope that they just know they can do whatever they dreamed of doing.
Like, and I think some people say that in like oh, sport, like you can be whatever you want to be when you grow up. And it's like, it's not just the dream, right? But it's like building the plan to go do it and like getting the right people in your corner and then taking that first step.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like finding the first cemetery to stealth camp in. Yeah. One last question. And I want to dive into like what's next and what's coming and on all these fun things. But what's the biggest misconception you feel like people have when they hear the story of you and this guy who ran around the country? And I'll kind of give you like what I see. It's like sometimes people like hear the story. It's like, oh, this guy did this for the fame or the followers or the this or that. And it's like, no, like truthfully, after sitting here and talking with you for 40 something minutes thus far,
Yeah.
it's like, man, he just had this dream. And it's
Yeah.
like, and it seems like it would have haunted you to like, you know, go on living and like all the like what ifs. Like, I wish I would have.
Yeah.
I wish I would. And everyone has that
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, I could have done it, or I thought of this first, or I wish I would have done this. And it's like, then do it.
Yeah.
And I just am so inspired
Yeah.
by the way that you were just like, it was never about like the product of all these things are great. Like
Yeah.
you're spreading this positivity and you're, you know, the followers and the way that you're able to like the method in which that happens is amazing. But I think what's the coolest that I love is you had this dream and there was nothing that was going to stand between you and accomplishing what that dream was.
Yeah.
And I think that's the message, right?
Yeah.
And so the misconception that I thought would be like, oh, all this, you did it for all these extra whatever stuff. But it's like, no, sometimes you just got to do something because you believe you can and you want to, and that's what you want to do.
Yeah. And it was crazy because I got that time and time again until like me and John linked up again through my social media and it really started popping. That people were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is like not more out there. And I was like, that's just like, that's a part of it, but it wasn't the whole thing. It was like, because people don't realize every interaction you have with somebody, it has a ripple effect. Like you could change someone's day completely. Like me just coming through, like I had people just hug me and tell me, it was crazy, open up in things I would never thought someone would open up to. Like
just random muscular hobo running through their town.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because I would say what I was doing and people would just like, you know, handshake, hug me, and just say thank you for doing what you dreamed you wanted to do.
It's inspiring.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's like, and putting that out into the world, I think is just so important.
Yeah.
Right? Like the message that you put out there, like by doing it, not just by, you get all these like motivational speakers and the this and the that like preach about it from behind the microphone, but like going out and living by example is just like the ultimate form of motivation and inspiration for all of us. So like, thank you for that. Like I'm jazzed up sitting here talking about like, I got to go do something crazy before the day ends today, just because of this conversation.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk, right, as we kind of like get towards, it's crazy how quick time flies, but we're getting towards the end of our time. What's next? Like what's coming up and how do we like put a bow on this great project that you guys have done?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm currently actually running every day still.
Have you ran already, or are you going to run after this?
I'll run after this, but I've been trying to average around 40 to 44 miles a day until October 8th, and that would be the official Guinness World Record for the most miles.
This
in a
man
consecutive
is
year.
here in our studio and about to go run 40 miles after this.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. I ran a fast mile this morning and I thought I was like on top of the world. And now Cam's just going to go do a 40-mile run. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, and actually, we've been promoting our film about the TSP because actually, what's crazy is during this whole trip, I had an opportunity that my sponsor reached out, basically my best friend TJ reached out and said, hey, I know you're doing what you're doing. I was in Texas somewhere. He's like, I got a proposition that one of these guys said, hey, you want to race this unsanctioned race from from Santa Monica to Vegas. And I didn't even think twice. I said yes. I'll get there.
So if you look at the map, he's in Texas. He runs that whole bottom section, and then there's this little offshoot. And I was just like, hey, he's my kind of guy. Like, he's a little quick trip to Vegas.
Yeah.
You know, like let's go hang out. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it was just like, to me, like I know some of my family were kind of like real worried because it's like you're already doing this kind of mileage, and now you want to race like. Not just like
what is TSP?
It's basically a 340 mile unsanctioned race from Santa Monica to Vegas. So it's like you start on the pier, whatever route you can get to there, you take. It's not like a normal ultra where you'd have aid stations, they're checking your time. It's basically you start there. And then when you finish, you take a picture by the sign, send it to the guy, and with your time, and that's your official time. So,
and like, do you like people are just pretty genuine, like right? Like it's not you're gonna just hop on a little like car or whatever.
Yeah, because
and it's like why would you do that, right? It's like you're doing this thing anyway.
And like everyone has a watch, so it's like, are you gonna drive a 10-minute mile?
Yeah,
no,
right.
Like
that's fair.
Yeah, that's why it was always like, they can always go back.
How many people ran it?
26. I can't remember how
So
many.
26 of you line up, toe the line on the Santa Monica Pier, and it's like, we're going to Vegas.
Yes, and it was so beautiful because it was people from everywhere, all different countries, and I met a few people. I met some girl that ran across Australia, so it was cool that people were doing like all these.
And this is like, it's unsanctioned, as in like, hey, you're on your own, like figure it out. But it's organized to the fact you all start at the same time.
Yeah,
is it yearly?
It is a yearly thing, and I actually got an email for an invitation for the next year, but I don't know what's going on. But I just loved it because it was kind of what I was doing already. Like I'm already out in the wild. Like I had ran 6,000 miles before I even got there. So, and it was like, hey,
what's 300 more?
Yeah, you just have to get here, and it was just wild to like.
Were you racing the clock to get there?
Because I wanted to get there 2 days before, and I ended up actually getting there exactly when you're in Texas somewhere, and you're like, hey, I'm going to be here in Santa Monica. Like it was crazy how it worked out. I was
like, that's 43 days from now. Like, I could probably do that.
Yeah, and I just had to somehow survive because I had no clue what I was getting myself into because it's so barren down there.
And then you show up there, 26 other people or whatever it is, and they're like, oh yeah, who's this guy? Like, oh yeah, I just came from Texas, like by way of my feet.
Yeah, it was cool. Like, I was able to do like when we were all doing introductions, they actually introduced me to everybody, so it was really cool.
That's
it was like
dope.
And it was just like this was what like a product of what what happens when you do what you dream. These kind of things open up. Like, and it was just like such a beautiful thing to share with my team.
Yeah, and you ended up making a film just about that specific stretch, right? So talk to us about the film.
Oh, it was completely like magical because I hadn't seen the film until like I came back August 3rd. That was the first time I'd seen it with everybody else. So what's cool for any ultra runner when, a film's done like that is because we never get to see our crew. It's such a quick interaction. It's like 2 to 10 minutes. Hey, we see each other. I'm gone. So it was really cool to see, just see how they were and, how much you affect the whole vibe of your like tribe. Like, it really does. Like if you're coming in, like
so you didn't have to run this race. So this wasn't self-supported. Like you had to ditch the cart for this and gotta go out. Let the horses gallop a little bit.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So it was cool to see what kind of shape I was in, which I didn't know, and it was incredible to be able to just like, I think I rocked 94 the first day, 84, and then 117 the third day.
You are the best kind of crazy. You are the best kind of crazy. Holy smokes.
And then I took like 2 days off. We were in Vegas and then flew back and then started back in Santa Monica and headed to the North Cascades. It was crazy.
Dude.
Yeah.
Unreal. Okay, so this film was premiered August 3rd, I believe, right? But there's a second premiere or second showing of it coming up. This drops on Wednesday. What do people need to know about it?
It drops August 23rd, right?
At Lawrence, at the Theater for the Arts. Where can we buy tickets? What can we do? How can we support and come and hang out with Cam?
We'll have it on our MTC page, so that'll be on there where people can buy tickets.
All right, so 23rd, 6 o'clock, mini documentary about the Full Mo. Great race. If you haven't ran it, it was I had a fun time there. It was my first ultra. And then we're going to see TSP, the Speed Project, right?
Yes.
And learn about this insane race from Santa Monica to Vegas. Cam, we've come to the end of the show. This was an incredible conversation. Like, you're so inspiring. We do a couple fun segments here to round things out. One that this is just a question that I'm curious about is, how do the economics of this work? Like, how does someone fund making it around? And I know that there's a specific sponsor that came in with shoes that helped out a ton there, but like, talk to me about the business of running around the country.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I did a little, like I said, it was a grass funded thing. So it was individuals actually like sending funds as well, and then MTC they helped me out a lot. They got me that hookup with Athletic Annex and basically anything I needed taken care of, or just the preparation. Like we already had my sponsor had the Kid Runner, so it wasn't something we had to purchase. So I was able to use that. So I tried to be as low budget as I could, and I think I did pretty well for going across the country.
What do you think the full cost was? Like, if you had put it in all dollars and cents of all the stuff that cost for someone to run around the country,
and
ballpark
20 to 30, maybe
20 to 30
with the I think something like that.
So it's like, hey, out there, anyone listening, it's got 30 grand sitting in a savings account, and you want to go out and have an adventure of a lifetime. Cam's got the blueprint for it.
Yeah, and that's really living off the grid. I mean, I chose a lot of options that probably people wouldn't be willing to eat, like instant mashed potatoes and beef jerky for a week, or
Heck, Okay, and then Mount to Coast came in and ended up becoming the shoe sponsor.
Yeah, about 8,000 miles. We actually, I got in contact through TJ with Mount to Coast, and it's been a really cool partnership. So they gave me the shoes and a few items like gear and stuff like that, hat and stuff like that. Yeah, I've really enjoyed. And I was able. I'm a person that's going to be able to really test something out, especially when I'm there. And you want I just
have 40 miles a day tends to test out some running shoes.
Yeah, and I was really happy to be a partner with them. So
and I love it. And they actually ended up. I commented on one of Cam's posts, and they ended up sending me a pair of shoes as well. Yeah. So I've tried them out too. Good, 4 miles versus 40 miles. They're good for the 4 mile runner as well. So a couple fun facts that I just want to hit on this before we hit kind of our rapid fire fun stage of the podcast is Cam climbed a total of 391,331 feet. That is Mount Everest 13 times. That is nuts. Wild. He went through 28 pairs of shoes, 33 states. Which state was your favorite?
I'd say, it had to be
There's one right answer.
Indiana.
No, it's okay. He get to see them all. Coming home was obviously the best, besides Indiana.
Yeah. I would say the Oregon coast was... It felt like I was in a different country. It was like a whole different ball game.
I love that. And he burned 2 million calories. It's I don't know how many. We can probably go back and do some math. 2 million calories is how many Oreos?
Oh, man. It's almost like when I tell people, I think it's 600 pounds. I was like, imagine somebody losing 600 pounds in 10 months. That would be insane.
That is wild to think about. I would love to see how much food, the equation there. The equation there has to be just insane.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got a couple fun segments left, and then we're going to wrap things up. The first thing we're going to do is talk about a little younger years segment, right? So this question is brought to you by our friends at Orr Fellowship. They're a great organization here in Indianapolis. They're helping develop young business leaders across the state. Incredible org. Cameron, the question for you is, what advice would you give to your 22-year-old self?
Jump.
Oh, elaborate.
Whatever you're scared of, afraid to do.
Do it.
Just do it.
There's a brand I think that has that logo, that tagline. It's pretty well known brand. Just do it.
Yeah, because that's just such an interesting part of your life.
What would 22-year-old Cameron, if you could go back and tell him right now and say jump, what would he have done? Would he have done this?
He would have done something like this. Some format of this, exploring adventure and just pushing the limit.
I love that. Okay. Now we're going to get to our lightning round. This is where we just go through and we hit these last 6 questions off pretty quick. So what's one place in Indiana that everyone needs to run?
Brown County.
Oh, is there a specific
There's there's a 50K and a 50-mile course down there. I've ran it a few times.
Is that the Jackson 50-50? No, that's Jackson County, not Brown County.
I forget.
Down in that area. Okay, Brown County.
I haven't ran the race, but I've ran the course a few times.
Classic,
but it's
right?
such a beautiful, 50K.
I love that. Which state has the best conditions for running?
Definitely in part of the Northwest.
He loves the Northwest.
Yeah,
there's track and running mecca up there, right? Somewhere in Oregon.
Plus the temperatures. The temperatures were perfect. It's nice and cool. It
was it hilly?
Oh yeah, I was doing the thing is, it's crazy when you're in it. You get used to it. You don't notice a difference.
When you crossed the finish line from your run around America, what were you most excited for?
To share an experience that everyone was involved in, with my community, just to show, hey, this is just a small town. Anything, what else is out there to experience?
What was your favorite, your delicacy running food, out there on the course?
Omelets.
Omelets?
Omelets, yeah.
Omelet. He's
Yeah. Breakfast was my favorite. I would have a 4-egg omelet, 2 pancakes, 4 pieces of toast, hash browns. Yeah, it was funny because I would eat that and then immediately run after. My stomach just got used to
You're crazy.
Yeah.
Best kind of crazy. All right. Final 3 questions of the lightning round, all about Indiana, the Hoosier State. This is what I ask every single person. What's something the world needs to know about Indiana?
It's the easiest place to run.
It's the easy flat, baby.
Yeah,
There we
and
go.
plus they're all roads. They're all concrete roads. Like a lot of places where I was running, it was all dirt roads. So at least for if you're pulling a stroller.
If you're pulling the stroller, come
Yeah.
hit some out. The Monon, or whatever.
Yeah.
There's tons of cool spots there. This is the signature question. Ready? What is a hidden gem in Indiana?
I like the dunes. I mean, that's a hidden gem.
Have you ever run the dunes?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
used to do that. We do when we were in high school. We went up there for a week for camp. So
Oh, that's so fun.
yeah.
And finally, Cameron, you need to share the love with someone else in the Hoosier State. Who is a Hoosier that we need to keep on our radar? Someone who's doing big things.
Cole Hawker.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Cole, what a beast.
Yeah.
Like that race, I was so hype.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. If subtle plug, if anyone out there wants to make the intro and get Cole on the pod, we would love to chit chat about running and
Yeah.
winning Olympic gold. He's a beast.
Yeah, I still think like people don't even really realize what he just did. So
Like
that,
insane. Just a product of Cathedral High School here in
yeah,
town.
yeah.
I love that. Cameron, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much. Like, thank you for being an inspiration to not just Hoosiers runners, just the world in general. Like, dream something big, go out and do it. Like, just thank you for coming on the show and talking a little bit more about who you are and who the guy behind this crazy running project is, right?
Yeah.
And I'm excited to keep cheering you on as you go forward and for whatever the next big crazy adventure is.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.